do you think that cheating is something that should be accepted, or do you think it's something that women should actually fight against?
Some men consider themselves polygamous. Some other men don't consider themselves polygamous, but there's that leeway of I might cheat. If you think you are polygamous, have conversations with people you are interested in and tell them that this is how I am. Some ladies have accepted it. If the man finds those kind of women, they will have a peaceful marriage.
You think it's possible for a man to love his wife and still cheat on her?
Oh yes, absolutely. That's how a man is wired.
Guys cannot take cheating. The moment you open up to a guy and tell him I have cheated, that relationship will not be the same.
If you're in a relationship with a woman and then she goes out to cheat, it means she has bonded with somebody else to sleep with the person.
Welcome to today's episode of Doin's Corner. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing a topic that I actually find very interesting. We're talking about relationships, marriage, and the leading causes of divorce. It's almost as if every marriage these days has a lifespan of 5 to 10 years, or maybe even shorter, to be honest. Some people are getting divorced almost immediately after the wedding. And that leads us to the number one question: why? Why does it feel as if people are in love today, but like in the next 2 years, they can't stand each other? So to answer these questions, we have a relationship expert in the house with us today. He's been counseling couples for over 5 years, and he goes by the name Blessed Kemka. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking about relationships, marriage, and the leading causes of divorce.
Yes.
But I think the first question that comes to mind is this: do you think marriage is an achievement? Because there are a lot of people that I think men almost seem to think marriage is an achievement, but women think marriage is an achievement, and men think women should think marriage is an achievement. But would you say marriage is an achievement?
That question has been a debatable one for a while. It depends on the lens you're looking at it from. But based on the failure rate we are seeing today, if you have a good marriage, I believe that's an achievement.
I agree.
Yeah, because there's a lot of craziness out there, and it costs you a lot of money to do the wedding, heartbreak, heartaches, a lot of things that go on, and a lot of bad marriages out there. So if you are able to do a very good one, then yes, that's an achievement.
When you were speaking, you mentioned good marriage. I think for me, actually, I think that marriage can be considered an achievement if it is not just long, but is a happy marriage.
Yeah.
Because when people say good marriage, they almost assume like, oh, a good marriage means, oh, we've been together for 10 years, we've been together for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I don't really think that necessarily makes it a good marriage. So what would you consider, what can we call a good marriage?
Okay, a good marriage is where both partners have the best interest of the other person at heart. They are both growing, they are loving each other, they are having a good time. Peace, joy, growth, basically. Happiness. So long as most of the negative emotions that people deal with are absent from the marriage, and they're able to deal with the issues that come up every now and then, that looks like a good marriage. So negative emotions, anger, bitterness, sadness, hatred, and all of those. Once most of all of that is absent from the marriage, and then you look forward to being with your partner, you enjoy spending time with them, yeah, that looks like something that is a good marriage. And, when you now look at it at a long time, a long span or long duration, that's something to look forward to. Okay.
So speaking about, you said if certain things are absent in the marriage, like anger, hatred, I don't know that it is possible for you to be married to somebody for, let's even say, 5 years. Because marriage is some sort of a partnership, right?
Yeah.
So there are two people coming together from different worlds, right? What is right to me is probably not right to you. Okay. What my school of thought is as to how I conduct myself in my husband's house might not be what you were taught growing up. And then we're coming together to make a union, right? Is it really possible that in the span of 5, 10, 20 years, there is no anger, there's no resentment, there's no, fight, there's no almost hatred, bitterness. I don't know that that is impossible, actually.
Okay. Anger, anger is impossible to. You can't.
You can't take it out
Yes,
of.
you can't take it out. However, what I really mean is residual anger, residual hate. That spans for a long time. You just constantly don't like this person, or you're just constantly angry at this person for whatever reason. The person probably keeps doing something over and over again, or you just hate their guts. You just don't. They're irritating
Can't
to you.
stand
Yeah,
them.
you can't stand them. So, but temporarily and momentarily, you can have something that annoys you. So, a good marriage is one that you're able to deal with that, and you bring that to zero. From
Like you
zero,
get past that and you're
yeah,
happy with them again.
exactly.
What do you think is the most, before people even get into marriage, what do you think is the most important trait to look for in a partner before saying, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person?
One or many.
Okay, let's say top 3 most important traits to look for in a partner.
Okay. Kindness. Kindness, teachability.
I agree with that 100%.
Is there a third one? There are so many.
Can I mention one? There's
Go
something
ahead.
that can, I think forgiveness.
Yes.
I think forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's also very big. Those 3 are very solid.
I agree with you when you say kindness, teachability, forgiveness. But don't you think, okay, I'm not bashing any gender, right? But I'm a Nigerian girl and I've dealt with Nigerian men,
Yeah.
right? And the one thing I would say that I find a bit questionable with Nigerian men is a lot of Nigerian men are so set in their ways. They're so like, there's a lot of ego that comes in play in relationships. This is who I am. I'm the leader. I'm the head of the family. You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me how to act. The woman is trying to say, oh, maybe if you do this, it'll be easier for me to talk to you sometimes. And the man just would not listen. A lot of men are not very teachable.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to like the bedroom, for example, which I think is a very important aspect of a marriage, sex life, right? A lot of men believe this is my way. I know this. I'm the head of the family. How do you think that men can become more teachable? Do you think that it's okay for the woman to present our opinions? And do you think men should be open to listening to women's opinions? Or should it be like I'm the head of the family and whatever I say goes?
Okay, so you touched on something very important, and I would not lie that what you have said is actually true. A lot of men, Nigerian men, have that ego problem. But I need to bring some balance here, where how the conversation starts, how it is presented matters a lot too. Yeah. So it is wired in men to want to lead. It is wired in men just like that. So if you present a matter in a way that he feels respected, he is most likely going to respond better. But if you present in a matter where he's not feeling respected and he's trying to remind you that he's to be respected, then he will now begin to do the ego thing and all that. Right. So there's that balance of how do you communicate with him, and there's also the other side of men need to tone it down. Yes, yeah. And be more open and to listen,
In terms of communication, I agree with you that sometimes it's not about what you're saying, it's about how you're saying it,
exactly.
Right? And they talk a lot about, the femininity, as a woman, just be soft, try to talk to your man softly. And I get that, and I agree with you, because I would say that I'm guilty of this. I used to be very aggressive, and I'll just be, no, this is what I want, but I think I've learned over time that goes nowhere with men.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The more you scream, the less he hears you.
Yeah.
Right? The softer you sound, then the more receptive he is to what you're saying. But I don't think it is humanly possible to be soft every time. There are times that the whole essence of me bringing a complaint to you is because I'm stressed by this thing. If you're doing something, if maybe every time you come into the house, you just throw your shoes around, and I've said this thing many, many, many times, is it not human for me to get frustrated and say, or a woman that has caught her husband cheating multiple times, and the man still expects that, okay, still be soft when you're trying to correct me? Is that not an almost impossible thing to ask of women?
Okay. The cheating part is a little extreme.
Is it? That happens in every relation, almost
Okay.
every relationship.
Okay, so
is
the
it
reason
really
why I said that is, you talked about the home stuff where shoes, this, that.
Right.
I want to speak on that on a general note,
Right.
so yeah, some things can be frustrating when they happen again and again. I am also guilty. Most men are guilty where we have somewhere we keep our semi-dirty clothes, or we just throw our shoes and all, and so yeah, that happens a lot. And my wife picks up these things and takes them back, and sometimes she just give me one nice side eye to remind me. Then sometimes I go take it. So a woman who is soft on these things, and there are some things that will never end. There are some things that will never end. So it is for the woman to understand that that's where, because these things go both ways. There are some things that the man will keep complaining that women do, and those things will never go away.
Right.
So there are some things that this is how most men are wired. Accept it like that. For instance, if you have children in the house, you already know that your house will be dirty and scattered.
Right.
Yeah. If you want to, you always tell them clean up, clean up.
But children are children. Men are grown-ups. You cannot use children as an example with men. Come on, men are adults, and they claim to be head of the family. So head of the family, a grown-ass man should be able to understand.
I didn't bring children to say men act like children. I just use that to say that there are some things that are repeated and there are some things that are expected. That when you have children, you'd know that the house will be dirty. So there are some things in men that you just know that these ones are, if you date 10 men, 9 of them.
Can you give us examples of traits like that you find in almost every man?
Most men are not that organized. Then if you see the ones that are organized, they do it to the extreme.
Extreme, right.
They do it to the extreme. Right. And then even the woman will not be comfortable living with him.
Right.
He's very nitpicky about a lot of things. But most men are not that organized. So that's one. The usual cooking and cleaning things, men are not given to that automatically, that. So those are some examples that these things might remain for a long time.
So are you saying women should just learn to accept those things? Like just accept that this is just how men are and just clean up after the man?
So there are some things that the man needs to do well. There are some things that he needs to do well. For example, toilet and hygiene and all, how he smells, his shoes, those ones he needs to put a check and do what he needs to do well. He needs to. But as I said, like dropping clothes in some places, where it's not supposed to be, or your shoes, that one might be very persistent. The man might get to a point where he just does it well, but expect it that this is a norm for men. So expecting it, so this brings me to one of the problems in relationships: expectations. So if you expect the man or the woman to behave in a certain way, you would have problems when they are behaving the opposite. So,
but is it really possible to not have expectations, even of our friends and colleagues, people that were not even married to or dating? There are expectations. It's normal. Like when you're getting married to somebody, you kind of expect them to hold themselves to a certain standard. You expect them to behave a certain type of way. Is it possible to... Even men have expectations of women.
Oh, of course.
We all have expectations. So is it really possible to not have expectations?
Yeah, so the problem is uncommunicated expectations.
Will lead to disappointments.
Yes.
True.
So this is why I tell people, talk about everything. Talk about everything, especially before marriage. So based on I've been in this game for a while, I compiled a long list of questions, over 144 questions that I usually share to people. A lot of questions to ask. Is this how you are what do you do here? How do we handle this if we get married? A lot of these questions. So these questions, you might never ever think of them until you see the questions. You'll be like, oh, so there's this question to ask.
Right.
So when these questions help build expectations or gauge your mind to know, okay, I now know how this person will handle this. There's some things I will tell you that as a person, see this one, I will try to improve on this one. But you see this one, that's how I was wired.
Just accept.
Just accept it. So if you cannot deal with it, just know, well, let's know what we are doing.
Speaking about wiring, right? You mentioned that there are certain things that are just expected of men. There are a lot of men that make the excuse of cheating is a man thing. Like, is in the DNA of every man. There are people that almost think that it's even some sort of like biological wiring. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Because I believe that there are men that don't cheat. Or do you
Yes.
think that all men cheat?
No, not all men cheat. No.
I agree.
Absolutely
I believe
not.
that not all men cheat. I think it takes discipline. I think it's achievable to not cheat. I know it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough, but I think it's achievable. So, do you think that women should just accept it? Or is it a battle that women can actually fight? Because there are a lot of women that have come to the point where they've just accepted it. Like, my partner is going to cheat. It's okay. So far, he takes care of me at home. So far, he pays the school fees. So far, he's providing. I'm just not going to stress. Do you think that cheating is something that should be accepted? Or do you think it's something that women should actually fight against?
So this goes back to discussions. And if you had this discussion before, I tell men are in the best position to initiate this conversation. So I have a group of men I talk to, I have a group of men, we talk every time. One of the things I tell them is this: some men consider themselves polygamous.
True.
Then some other men, they don't consider themselves polygamous, but there's that leeway of I might cheat. So I tell them that you need to pick one side and follow it straight on. If you think you are polygamous, I don't want to go into biology or wiring, or this is what you believe. You believe that you're polygamous, and there's no stopping. There are men who there is nothing that will stop them from doing this. Yes. What I tell them to do is this: have conversations with people you are interested in and tell them that this is how I am. And you said some ladies have accepted it.
Sure.
If the man finds those kind of women, they will have a peaceful marriage. She will now give him the terms and conditions. If you are going to do this, don't bring diseases back home. Don't do this. Treat me right. I want to be the number one, blah, blah, blah. Terms and conditions. But if you are not going to be polygamous, if you are going to be straight, then have that conversation and this is how I am. So the problem that happens is most men go into marriages and the women feel deceived.
Right.
I thought it was just going to be me and you, and there are third, fourth, fifth parties. And then she feels heartbroken and all. So expectations, conversations, if I'm going to go into this is my lot. And so that's what I think. So if you have the conversations beforehand, you will know what the man is and what he's capable of and the kind of man that he is.
Right. I agree with you, actually. I think that there is somebody for everybody.
Yes.
To be honest. I think that there are men that have accepted it, that, see, no matter how much I love my wife, I will cheat. I'm still going to ask you a question, because there are a lot of people that think that you cannot love somebody and cheat on them. I don't think so. I think you can love somebody and step out.
Oh,
I
yes,
think it's
you can.
possible.
Yes.
I think those two things can exist.
Men do that a lot.
Yes, but there are a lot of women that believe that no, or even some men that believe that if you truly love somebody, you cannot cheat. I think men and women are different.
They are very different.
Yeah. For me, when I'm in love, I cannot cheat. But I think that's just me being a woman, right? But I think some men, when they're in love, they can still love their wife to the end of the world, but they would still cheat.
That's how they're wired.
So you think it's possible for a man to love his wife and still cheat on her?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's how a man is wired. He can. Now, for women usually do pair bonding before they sleep with somebody. They have to love you and like you before they open up to you. However, there are women that don't. So those women, I don't want to sound derogatory.
No, you.
Yeah. Some women are let me use quote and unquote for the streets. They have become women for the streets. So they have removed emotional attachment before sex.
Right.
So those ones can sleep with anybody. So even if they are with a partner, they are not necessarily bonded with that partner. They are
Sex is just sex for them.
Yes, exactly. And in that relationship, they're just there with you, but they're not locked emotionally with you.
Right.
Yeah, so a woman most women are emotionally locked before sex. But if she becomes the person for various reasons, her past, trauma, her decisions, and she removes that aspect of her, so I have to lock in before sex, then she now becomes like a man that can go around and sleep with anybody and without remorse, without any pre-locking.
Any emotional connection.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're saying women that can sleep with men without emotional connection can actually cheat even if they love somebody.
Yes.
Just like men.
Yes.
But women that need emotional bonding before they have sex cannot cheat.
Yeah, this is generally most women, generally speaking, most women need to have that emotional bonding first before sex. They have to love you, but not all women. So
you spoke about, having conversations and being open with your partner before marriage. There's this thing that I'm particularly very confused about, to be honest. I believe in transparency. I believe in honesty, right? But I also don't think that transparency is always the best all the time. There are people that cannot handle transparency.
Oh, yes.
Do you think that if a partner has stepped out of their relationship and they've cheated, do you think that they should be honest with their partners and tell their partner that this is what has happened? Or do you think that that's a secret they should take to their grave?
So it's context dependent.
Can you
You
explain?
know the person you got married to. If you're married or if you're dating somebody, you know how the person handles information.
Right.
And probably about cheating, you guys have already had a conversation about it before. There are some people that you have the conversation with, and they will be like, I know that somebody can veer off and come back.
Right.
But I will give the person warnings that if you do it, don't do it again, don't do it again. Then after a while, I can't take it any longer. You've had that conversation with the person, so you know the person's stand already. And there are some people, they tell you that the moment you cheat, that's the end. In fact, I might kill you and kill myself. So once you know that kind of person, you know that you cannot bring up that conversation. But if it's somebody who is not so serious, then you can open up and say, see what I have done.
But what's the right thing to do? Does transparency and honesty strengthen the bond, or does it weaken it? Because there are people that, you would tell that, I've cheated on you, And maybe the girl said, oh, don't worry, if you cheat, tell me, I can handle it. Majorly guys. Guys cannot take cheating. They will tell you, oh, tell me. The moment you open up to a guy and tell him, I have cheated, that relationship will not be the same.
Yeah, it won't.
For most guys. So do you think that transparency and honesty strengthens the bond, or does it weaken it?
All of this is context dependent and gender dependent. So a lot of women can, as you said, can take cheating more than men.
Sure.
And that goes into biological wiring again. Most men, give or take, they would prefer to have a woman with a low body count or a virgin.
Meanwhile, they don't have...
No, yes, of course not.
It's such a double standard.
It is. So the reason why they like or want virgins is the same reason why when they are now married or when they are in a relationship, they still don't want that person to be shared with someone else. They want that experience for themselves.
Right.
Yeah, so if the woman comes out clean too. But here's the problem. A lot of women do a lot of, as we have established, they have to do emotional bonding before sex, most times. So it means that if you're in a relationship with a woman and then she goes out to cheat, it means she has bonded with somebody else to sleep with the person.
Right.
So it means so that's the problem. That's the big problem with when women cheat.
Right.
But as I said, there are some women that have removed that bonding.
Detached,
Yes, they have
yeah.
detached. So, and when a woman is detached, it's easier for her to sleep around.
And still love her partner.
Well, she can love her partner, but so there's the likelihood of more cheatings.
Right. Oh, okay. So when she's detached, she would even cheat more than the man.
No, I don't know about more. I'm
But she
talking of
cheats
frequent.
more
Yeah.
compared to the normal girl. That is
Yes.
still
There's
attractive.
still
Fair
so
enough.
some people cheat and it's a mistake.
Right.
But this kind of girl who doesn't have that emotional bonding, she can cheat and cheat and cheat. Like 3 times, 4 times.
Because it's just sex to her.
Yes. But for the lady who is not like that, if the guy finds out that she has cheated, it means that she has bonded emotionally with somebody else. So that's where the problem is with men handling cheating from women. But for men, if people joke around and say it's just like drinking water and dropping cup sex.
Right. It doesn't mean much.
Doesn't mean much to the man. I just went out, did stuff, and came back like an activity. I went to play ball and came back. So, but for a woman, she has to connect with the person,
Right.
So those are the differences.
Left to me, I feel that honestly, for me, if I cheat on my partner, the guilty conscience will not allow me to be able to sit in the same house with him and talk to him and laugh with him
You're a
and
very
not
good
tell
person.
him. I can't. My conscience can't take it.
You're a good person.
I have to tell him. Even if I know that telling would lead to something, I'd rather fight that fight later, like after the fact. But I just think, for me, I think for most women, once a woman has just cheated on you, just start considering that it's like she's checking out of that relationship.
Exactly.
That's the truth. Because it takes a lot for a
Yes.
woman to cheat. It takes
Exactly.
a lot. She would have had to, detach. Maybe I'm speaking from personal experience.
No,
but
it's a global
yeah, it takes a lot for a woman to cheat, unlike men. But we're still on this topic of relationships, marriage, and the leading causes of divorce. We're going to go on a quick break, and we'll be back shortly. And we're back from that short break. We're still on the topic relationships, marriages, and the leading causes of divorce. So while we're on the break, there was something that came to mind. There's this talk of a woman should submit to a man, submit to your man, listen to your man, da 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 da. I agree that the woman should submit to the man because I think that, two people cannot lead a boat. I mean, lead a ship. It's to capsize. Like one person has to calm down for the other person. But I don't agree that submission should just be given blindly. I personally would only submit to a certain type of man. You have to earn the submission from me. I have to be able to trust your leadership. I have to be able to close my eyes and say, it's going to take me and my family, me and my children, it's going to lead us right. And it's not just going to lead us astray. But there are men that say, no, even if I'm a drunkard and I don't even know where my life is facing, a woman, the Bible says the woman should submit. So what is the right thing? Is submission an expectation that men should have of women? Or should it be a certain type of man that women should submit to?
Okay. Where do I start? So submission, first things first. A woman should not marry somebody who she doesn't respect.
True.
So marry somebody who you can follow his leadership. So if he might have the car, he might have the house, but you don't like his leadership style, do not get married to him. So that excuse me. So that would be very frustrating if you're marrying somebody who you don't like his leadership style. So that's the first, and that solves most of it. Because if you have seen how the person leads during the courtship, as a person, as a friend during courtship, you have seen how far he has led himself and probably his siblings or something, or wherever he's working, it gives credence to the fact that he can lead you.
Right.
But if his life is messy at the moment, but somehow he has some things going on for him, and you don't trust his leadership, don't bother. Because it will be a frustrating thing to follow such a person.
So you're saying but the moment that the woman has made the choice and the decision that I am marrying this person, she has to submit. So the homework for her to do is to make sure that the person that she's marrying is somebody she can submit to.
Exactly.
Right. I agree with that actually. I think that, that's your most important job as a woman, to be honest, to choose the right man, to
Oh,
choose a
yes.
man that would not just be a husband, but would be a good father, would be a good leader, because it's going to be your therapist, it's going to be your best friend, it's going to be your leader, it's going to be everything. So you have to choose a man that you can respect. And then the moment that you've said, okay, this is my husband, then you have to submit.
Yes.
I agree with that 100%.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
But to add something to that, there are men who are leadership crazy. They just want to be the head,
Yes, so-
the head, you know. But find a man who, as much as you are following his lead, he's not power
Hungry.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what submission here is not that come here, do this, do that, clean this, go here, do that. No, it's about conversations, agreements, and all that. So we want to reach an agreement for something, and then there is that impasse between us. We don't know if we should go left or right. And as a man, I can ask my wife to say, "What's your opinion on this? What do you think about it?" Then she gives me her own opinion. I can make an educated guess based on what she has said. I said,
Right.
"No, let's go with yours."
Yours. Exactly.
Doesn't mean that I
It
am.
has to be
No,
your
it
own.
doesn't. Yeah.
Exactly.
But when we reach a point where I'm saying left and you are saying right, and I feel like, I think we should go left, wherever it is I wanted us to go.
Right.
And we have discussed it and we still have not come to a conclusion. That's when the woman has to now defer to the man's leadership. But in a sane marriage, you have very little of that, where we have reached that point where we cannot agree on a particular thing. In a sane marriage, it hardly happens.
Right. Right.
So you won't see that
Happen.
it has to be like this, it
Yeah.
has to be my way. No.
Except for except for men that are very controlling, because there
Yes.
are men that are very controlling.
yes.
And even when they're being unreasonable, they just think the woman should, go with their own opinion or go with their own. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I think that there should still be allowance for the woman to express what our own opinions are and say, oh, this is why I think this. And then if the man sees reason with it, then he can say, oh, yes, I think we can go with yours and everything. Okay, so speaking about that, there is also this question. I was going through Instagram today and I saw this thing where a lot of women were debating, should women, let's say women, because usually women are the ones that marry up anyways. So should women marry for love or should they marry for stability? Or is marriage really about love? Or is marriage like a business partnership? Because there are some people that almost look at marriage as a business. Okay, in the case of like prenup now, there are a lot of maybe wealthy men that would say, if you must marry me, you have to sign a prenup. And then the woman will say, then you don't love me, because it's like you almost have an expectation that the relationship is coming to an end.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with prenup, right? I think that, if I'm not marrying that man for money, it's okay. I understand that he has worked his entire life for that money, you get. So I'm fine with signing a prenup. That's okay. But the prenuptial agreement has to make sense too.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes. So do you think that people should marry for love? Or do you think there are other things, more important things, that should come ahead of love?
When it comes to love, I'm usually very controversial about it. So what most of us call love is neediness. What most of us call love.
Codependency.
Yeah. Codependency, but where you need the person too much. And of course that's an emotional state to be in. And then, for example, you see your spec, then you begin to fall in love with that person emotionally, and that's when they say love blinds you. But all of that comes from neediness, really. At the core of it. So what I usually would prefer is, I've seen, this is where everybody has their spec list.
Right.
And checklist and questions. I've seen you, I've seen him. Let me get to know you better. Let me see if you are compatible with me. Let me see if we can go hand in hand. Then if all of these things are, my checklist, I see that all of this has been fulfilled, then I can now decide to now put my emotions into it. But people reverse that and put emotions first.
Right.
And then they begin to check, can we work?
Yeah.
So I think love should come later. But before the marriage.
Right.
Before the marriage.
So you're saying there are other things that should be checked off the list first before you now say, okay, and I also love this person.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So you think, what are the things? Do you think security? Because I think that every woman wants to feel secure. They almost make it seem like as if women are gold diggers, but nobody wants to suffer. That's the truth. I think that security should be one of the things that you should check, because at the end of the day, love is not going to foot the bills. Love is not going to send the children to school. Love is not, and that's not to say that, you know, the woman should just depend completely on the man. I'm always going to be a working woman, right? So are you saying, is it really a bad thing for a woman to say, well, one of my lists that I'm checking off is that this man has to be financially stable for the sake of security for myself and my kids. This man has to, you know, maybe be able to be educated before you then say, and I now love him, right? Do you think people should look at financial security before they get married? Or are broke men supposed to be allowed to get married?
I don't think broke men and broke women should go into relationships.
I agree with you.
You have to have something doing that can feed you, feed somebody else, and pay the bills before you start thinking about relationships and love.
I agree with you, 100%.
So, on both parties and both ways. Of course, there is more burden on the man's finances, usually in marriage. But however, the woman should have something that she does too, you know, that gives her money. Because it's like saying you want to go to university and you don't have any money at all.
Right.
No money at all, but you want education. Everybody wants education. Education is good, but you need money to, if not to pay your fees, you need money to feed.
Right.
You need money to transport yourself to class and back. Money is needed in education. Same thing, money is needed in relationships and marriages. So you cannot come in zero.
And say, just love me how
Just
I am.
love me.
But does that mean that broke people do not deserve love? Broke men, does it mean? Because to be honest, in most cases, when we think about gender roles, men are the ones that do the providing most of the time.
Yeah.
So are you saying that broke men do not deserve to be loved? Or do not deserve to find love or be in relationships or be married?
So it's not like they don't deserve love. It's about timing.
At the time where they are broke, they don't deserve it.
Not deserving. There's no need to be in a committed relationship.
If you're
It's
broke.
not needful. It's a distraction, really,
Right.
from working hard. There are a number of reasons why you might be broke at 30. Probably your father was poor, or you were the firstborn and you were carrying all your siblings, or you had a very big issue in your life, or you were not working hard as much. There are so many reasons why a person will be broke when they are not supposed to be broke. However, your job is to fix that first.
Before you start.
Not that. So what will you be doing? I've also made this mistake in my past where, you know, and almost every young man, because of movies and all, we feel like no matter the age we are in, we deserve love. So you go out there and look for who will manage with me.
And then when you don't find, then you get angry with girls and you say women are gold diggers.
Yes.
Women are this. And then by the time the man makes money, then he hates women. Then he say, I will show
I will
women
show
pepe.
women shege.
But I think it's a very unreasonable thing to be honest.
But it's because we teach young men at 13, 15, 20, 21 that you are insane if you don't have a relationship. That everybody must be bonded.
Right.
So this goes back to why do relationships exist? Is it just to feel loved and just to, you know, I have somebody? Or relationships should be the precursor to marriage?
What do you think? You think relationships are for marriage? To lead to marriage?
Yeah, primarily. That's my opinion. Because if a 20-year-old guy goes into a relationship because he needs to be in a relationship and he doesn't have money, that's where this conversation comes in.
But can't relationship also be for companionship? Because actually, I beg to differ with that.
Okay.
Because I don't think that relationships are primarily intended to lead to marriage. I think you can have a beautiful long-term relationship with somebody and it will not end in marriage, and it would have still been a worthy relationship, worthy of your time, worthy of the experience, of the I think relationships should be more about companionship than marriage, to be
Okay.
honest.
This goes back to what I said in the beginning, that have this spelled out from the beginning.
Right, with the person.
Yes. So I'm a young guy or I'm a young girl. I don't know where this will lead. It most likely might not lead to marriage, but let's have a good time together.
Right.
And maybe in the process, I can understand women and you can understand men, you know. But my personal take is I don't recommend it.
You don't.
I don't recommend it. But
What about
anybody,
people that don't want to get married? What about people that want to do like a lifetime partnership? Like in their entire life, they actually don't want to. Does it mean that they're doing relationships wrong? If they
it-
just want somebody that, well, we're not getting married, but together, we're going to be together forever. And does it have to be marriage to
okay,
make it?
so again, I like open communication. If that is what the goal from the beginning, then it's okay, or go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead, have that conversation, and we're not going to get married. We're going to be partners for life. Have that conversation. If you so, I'm not trying to impose my own ideologies on somebody else.
Right.
I say I don't recommend it. However, one of the things I say after most of my counseling is that you're an adult. You will do what you want to do.
Exactly.
But this I don't recommend. So I don't recommend young people going into relationships until they're ready for marriage. However, people will do what they want to do. And if I see them doing it, I will not scold them and say, you are doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
If you come to meet me and say, what do you think? This is what I think.
Right.
Yes.
I think it's to each his own, to be honest.
Yes.
We all have, and if you find somebody that, aligns with your own values in terms of like, oh, what dating should be about, then that's the person for you, I guess. So speaking about long-term relationships or marriages, there are a lot of people that think that the moment two people fall out of love, that should be the end of that marriage. I personally don't think so. I think that commitment is beyond feelings, is beyond love. I think the moment that you say, I am committing to this person, it should be for better, for worse, except in extreme cases like violence and all of that. But even in a situation where you're no longer in love with the person, you should still stick by the person for several reasons. For the fact that you people now have children together, for the fact that, maybe you have businesses tied together, you have whatever it is tied together. I think there are ways to find ways to fall back in love. So do you think that once people are falling out of love with each other, that should be a ground for divorce? Like, okay, yeah, so we were in love at some point, we're no longer in love, let's both go our separate ways. Or is commitment way past feelings?
So, one of the things I focus on a lot in my counseling or in my general life philosophy is getting your foundation right. If you get the foundation right, based on who you choose, the knowledge you have about relationships and marriage, you won't get to the point where you're falling out of love. So, if you choose right and you're doing the right things. So, what people generally call falling out of love is usually, scientists say, excuse me, scientists say that it takes between 2 weeks to 2 years of a marriage. You feel the butterfly feelings, infatuation feelings, and they call it the honeymoon phase.
Right.
That it goes away. You see this knowledge, many people don't know it. So you know how when you just meet a new guy, you meet a new girl,
You're
that
excited about
rush,
it.
yes. I can't wait to be with you, be in your arms, hold you, get married to you, and all of that. That is the butterfly phase, or the infatuation phase, or the honeymoon phase. After marriage, it takes a while, and that goes away. It's for almost everybody. So when that happens, you now claim that you have fallen out of love for the person because you're no longer feeling those
that rush.
Yes, that rush. So that's where the term falling out of love comes in. So, but if you know that already, that whatever I'm feeling now, it might not last. So I need to. So one of the things I admonish and advocate is get used to the normal feeling now. So purge yourself of the butterflies. Get used to this is every day with this person.
Right.
This is how every day, without any excitement, and all the feelings, emotions, can I still bear with this person? So if you can, then you can do lifetime with the person. So back to your question, if you have fallen out of love, figure out what's the problem. It might just be that the butterflies have flown away. Then if it's something else where the person keeps bringing up a lot of negative emotions, there are a lot of unresolved issues in the marriage. You have tried, you have done a lot, and the person is not changing, or the person is not kind, a lot of things. Then figure out, that's when knowledge comes in. Either you go for counseling to figure out what's going on, how both of you can adjust best to, treat yourselves better. But I don't feel like if you have just fallen out of love, you should just call it
go your
quits.
separate
No,
ways.
figure it out.
There was something you said that I really agree with. I think a lot of people are very misinformed when it comes to what love is.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people think love is that, excitement, that, yes. I think that's a crush.
Yeah.
I think love is actually the hard work. Love is when that person you're no longer excited to be around the person, but you are making an intentional effort to say, you know what, I want to try to tolerate this person's excesses. Love is accepting this person's bad behavior and this person's flaws. I think a lot of people think that they're falling out of love. I really agree with that point, when they're no longer feeling that, I want to spend 24/7 with him. No, I think that's when love actually comes in play. When you now start saying, okay, this person snores too loudly, but you know what, I want to put up with them. This person is sick and they're throwing up and they're irritating, but I want to clean them up. This person is very stubborn and does not listen, but I want to try to understand them. For me, I would say that love, the biggest form of love to me, is acceptance. Accepting even when it is not convenient for you. When you just have some form of fondness for that person enough that you're able to accept their excesses and, even when it's not like exciting. Speaking about that, we spoke about extreme cases like abuse, for example. For me, at that point, divorce is an option. You should probably get divorced because people die from things like that.
Sure.
There are a lot of people that stay in marriages that should have been ended a long time ago.
Yes.
There are people that are married to their enemies. There are people that are laying in bed every day with people that hate them, right? But they stay because they feel like we have kids, if the marriage, if they stay together because they have kids, is it even more detrimental to those kids when that marriage is toxic? Or is it better for them to actually work on staying together for the sake of the kids? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, so if they have done therapy, counseling and all that, and the problem doesn't seem to want to go, and they are continually toxic in the marriage, it will definitely affect the children.
Absolutely.
So you are raising children in a toxic environment, and these children would also suffer in the long run. But you are still staying because of them, yet they are under a toxic umbrella. So that's, you need to now check yourself and figure out what you need to do. Some people might have to adopt separation for a while. One of the things I usually advocate is before the chairs start flying around and you start throwing things, I don't want to see you again. But you know that this thing is no longer going to work. Before that time, figure out the separation now so that you can still have amicable conversations. We know that this thing cannot work between us. We made a mistake. However, I still respect your person. I still like you as a person. So we cannot have a mutual understanding of raising our children from different spaces.
Right.
Yeah. But most people will be in that situation until they get to that violent part where
they can't even stand each other.
They can't stand each other. And now having to now raise the children in after that can be so toxic.
Right.
So you start saying a lot of negative things about the other partner to the children. Your father is this, your father is that. Then this one is saying your mother. So when they're going to visit, don't stay 2 weeks there. A lot of chaos. So I like it when it is mutually, a separation is quite mutual. That as adults, we have come to see, after therapy, after everything, after prayer, after fasting, after trying, I've come to see that this thing cannot work.
work.
So let's separate. So this separation here is different from divorce. So let's separate for a while and figure things out. Maybe you have to go and learn some things. I have to go and learn some things, and
Then we can come back
again and
later.
try. So
There are a lot of people that think that, well, not a lot of people, to be honest. These days, we find that many ambitious women are not married. Many well-to-do women are not married. What do you think the correlation is with women that are so independent, like they call them strong and independent women, and being unmarried? I think I have like a notion about why it happens that way. But I'll still give you time to like share yours. But I think that when a woman has made her money and she's, ambitious and I think a lot of women make the mistake of they carry that strong, independent woman thing to their household.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's okay for you to be a strong, independent woman in your office and be kicking ass in your office and, getting milestones and all of that. But when you come home, be a wife. Be soft. Be a girl with your husband. Don't bring that, no, you're not the boss of me attitude to the house, because it's not going to work. So do you think that's the reason a lot of ambitious, strong, independent women are not married?
that's one reason. One reason. But the primary reason most of them are not married is hypergamy. And the definition of that is women love to marry up. So, I don't want to sound funny now, but the higher a woman goes, the higher she wants.
True.
But the problem is that there aren't a
There are
lot
not
of
so many men
up
there. 100%. The more successful a woman is, the more difficult it is to find a partner.
Yes.
Because there's only a few percentage of successful men.
A very
too,
rich man
yeah.
who is a billionaire can go to a fast food and see a lady there who is very nice and marry her.
I want to marry. Yeah, true. But women
But-
want to marry up.
Yes.
So, and it's difficult for you to find. And the truth is, men that are in the 0.1%, like higher echelon of men, they're also looking to marry women that are not as established, for most men like
Yes.
that, because they also don't want to have to deal with that strong, independent woman thing.
Exactly.
So would you say, is it a curse for a woman to be ambitious? Is it a bad thing?
Some women set out to prove the world wrong. So they want to break all of the glass ceilings. They want to show that women can do this. And they've decided to use themselves as that superstar.
Right.
So I don't think that's a great strategy.
You
Except
don't think it's a great strategy.
Yeah. So when you keep going up, but you want higher.
So you think if a woman has attained a lot of like success, she should be okay with marrying down?
She has to. Because
But can she really respect the man if she's marrying down? If
So-
the woman is the one providing, can she truly respect that man as the leader?
so it takes a lot of mental work to do that. It takes a lot of she has to do a lot. For example, a woman who is going to be getting married to a man she's older than, she has to do a lot of work in humility.
True.
Bringing herself down and following his leadership, even if she's older than him by, say, 7 years. It's a lot of mental work. So a woman who is more successful than most men would have to do the mental work of
Calming
down and figure this man can take care of the home. He's not a lazy man. He's not broke. So that's the problem. He's not broke. He's okay, but he's not to your standard. That's just the problem. So you need to reconfigure your mind to say, so long as he's a man, a decent man, and he's making money for himself, then I can go for him. So
It would take a lot. You take
Yeah.
a lot, because I'm not sure that I can marry down. To be honest, I don't think I can.
so
And that's not
that's-
because I will not respect the man, but for me, I think that attraction is not just about how you look. For me, attraction is I have to look up to you. You have to be ahead of me in some way in life. I have to be able to feel like, oh, he's teaching me something. I'm learning for me to even feel attracted to him at all. So I don't know. It's very difficult to marry down.
It's basic biology.
Yeah.
It's basic biology. Women always want to marry up, and it's not a
Absolutely.
bad thing.
And then they make it seem like we're gold diggers.
No.
I don't think it's about being gold diggers. I think It's not easy to marry
in
down.
fact, they help economy. They help the world become better. So when most women do not pick the lesser men, those lesser men feel rejected, and where he now says that, oh, you rejected me because I didn't make money. I'm going to show you people.
Pepe.
A lot of music, art, science was created because of that. So the man was rejected, and he says, no, I'm going to show the world, I'm going to do better. And he did better and created masterpieces.
Right.
Or he became a better man. So that helps men become better. However, I don't want to sound like a misogynist now or something. Most women need to put a cap to how far they should want to go.
Please.
Now.
No.
Because,
really?
yes.
So if me as a woman, I'm saying to
this is not a global letdown that the world is pushing you down. You are the one that is deciding that, see.
I don't want to be too successful.
Now.
So that I can find a man to marry me.
Because
really?
they have to, it's a trade-off.
So it's either you put a cap to your level of success or you decide that you marry down.
Yes. So
Fair.
If you don't want to put a cap and you want to be the best and the top in the world, be ready to settle for, in your own head, you are settling. So be ready to settle for
someone that is not as
successful as you. Else, if the other alternative is put a cap so that you can still see men that are higher than you to get married to. Women feel more fulfilled when they marry up.
Yeah.
So if you get to the echelon and you're marrying down, you might not
feel as
you might just feel like, I'm just marrying because I need to marry. So the higher you go, so it's I don't know.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
To be honest, it's not easy. But please, can men just stop calling women gold diggers for wanting to marry up? It's not because, and there's almost this thing like, it's almost as if people expect that rich men can never find love. Like the moment you see a girl getting married to a rich man, they say, it's because of his money now. I seriously do not agree with that. I think that there are a lot of rich men that women would turn down.
Oh, yes.
But it's possible for a woman to actually love a man that is rich, but she's not there just because of his money. But there's just this thing. It's almost like as if once a man has money like this, any woman that is with is for the money. It's not always like that.
No,
and
it's not.
because of that, a lot of well-to-do men don't even treat women nice because they just feel like,
yes.
she's just here for my money anyways.
Yes.
She's just here for my money. But I don't think it's necessarily always like that. Like women want security. Women want to feel safe.
Yes.
But aside the security, you have to be so much more than that money. Do you get? You have to have values. You have to, be reasonable. You have to be compatible to some extent. So I don't know. Please, they should stop accusing us of gold digging because it's not always that.
It's not always, but a lot. Trust me, a lot. However, what most men, and Nigerian men do that a lot. Once they have the money, they are putting the money in front.
Yes. And then they complain that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Nigerian men will talk to, before you even start talking to them, they tell you about how many houses they have, how
wrong.
many cars they have, how they can buy it. And then they'll come back and say, the girl is only with me for my money. If you have nothing else to talk about outside your money, then that's all you're going to attract.
Yeah.
If all your conversations are centered around what you can provide, and the girl has not even gotten to know who you are as a person. I think a lot of men don't even have a personality outside their money.
Yes, they don't.
Anymore.
Most of
and
them
it's
don't.
so sad. So then they need to stop complaining about women being with them for their money. You have to pick and choose. We're really, really out of time. This is such a long conversation. It's very interesting too. Thank you so much. We've learned a lot from you. But to round this up, if you had one advice to give to somebody that is looking to choose a life partner, what would you say to that person? Girl or boy, one advice.
Okay. Because I cannot say a lot, give yourself to reading books. Good. So there are books and there are good books and there are regular books. Find good books on relationships. Right. Give yourself to them. There's a lot you don't know.
True.
And most of the problems in relationships are knowledge gaps.
True.
So read a lot and you realize that I don't know a lot, so I need to know. So that's what I'll just say.
Okay, and for me, I would say one advice I would give to anybody, even to myself, because me too, I'm looking to find a partner at some point. I'm not looking, but I hope at some point. I would say become the type of partner you would like to marry.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people have expectations of their partners. I want him to be kind. I want him to be generous. I want him to be this. But they're horrible people.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be with a horrible person. So if you're looking to be with a good person, be a good person yourself first. And
I want to say one last thing, based on what you just said. If all of us can become the people we pretend to be, we'll be better. You know,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes, because
in front of people,
in front of people, we act so good. Yeah, but the people that are dealing with us at home, our family,
They
a lot
know
of
us.
people, to the world, they are the best. But
Yes.
those people dealing with them at home,
So those things you're pretending to be, become it.
that thing. Right. So we've come to the end of this conversation. We hope that you've learned a thing or two from this topic. I've learned a lot, and I enjoyed having this conversation, actually. So we'll see you same time next week on Doing's Corner. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.